Hello and welcome to Latter-day Profiles. I'm Brian Howard. We're here at the LDS Motion Picture Studio in Provo, Utah. And joining me today is Shawn Stevens. Shawn, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Brian.
So good to have you. You know, many people remember you back in the day. Landmark film, really, Our Heavenly Father's Plan. I was a missionary at the time that came out, but I was in France, so we didn't have the privilege of actually sharing it with others. We just got to see it. But recent years also come back into acting. Cokeville Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of others. I think you were in The Fighting Preachers. A lot of others.
Yep.
People want to check out the IMDb
In fact,
database.
Fighting Preacher was, a lot of it was filmed on the backlot here at the Motion Picture Studio.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah. Totally.
It's nice to be back here.
We're here, back right in this place. So let's talk about that. What, when you were young, you liked acting and singing, right? What got you into it? Was your family into that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, the family wasn't into it as much. I was born in New Jersey, and my maternal grandmother was into the arts.
Ah, gotcha.
And my parents were very young when I was born, so I was left in the care of my grandmother for extended periods, sometimes days, even weeks, while my parents finished high school. So, but my grandmother exposed me to good music. My grandfather, maternal grandfather, worked on Wall Street.
Oh.
So my grandmother would take me sometimes into the city, and we would go and see Broadway plays.
Oh, wow.
Or I remember once we went to Radio City Music Hall for a world premiere of a film. But it was that got me interested, and then what sealed the deal was she took me to see a play called The Handsome Prince, which was actually about a frog. And it was at the Paper Mill Playhouse. And so ever since that, I thought, this is what I want to do. And it sounds strange to think someone so young could have his course set so early, but that's truly, I got the bug then.
Well, fortunately, your family moved out to California,
Right.
And offered you some opportunities. How'd that go?
Well, so we moved from New Jersey to California, which of course is worlds apart in many, many ways. I was not a member of the LDS Church at the time. I was raised in another faith, Christian faith. But it was a person at the church that we went to in Burbank, California, where we had moved, who introduced me to a family in Glendale, California, who had their own theater. And that family was the Hales, Ruth and Nathan Hale.
People in the Utah area will know that name very well with the
Right.
theater, yeah.
But what they may not know is that the Hales started their first theater in Glendale, California. And I was 10 years old, and I went and auditioned. And I was cast in my very first play, and that was A Christmas Carol.
Oh.
I played the spirit of Christmas past.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, as a young boy, really. And but that, for me, that place became my second home. And I did a lot of plays there over the years, and then through middle school, high school, I did all the plays at my school. And so that's how it kind of all started. But this was all theater at the time. I hadn't had an opportunity to do any film.
When did the first opportunity for that come about?
Okay, well, that came about actually through people at the Glendale Center Theater, somebody that I had worked with there. I had graduated from high school, and an individual told me about a friend of his who was casting an independent film that was going to be shot in Kanab, Utah. And I got the leading role in that. And so I was off to Kanab, Utah, and did a motorcycle movie. But it was there that I had my first opportunity to go into an LDS meeting house and go to church. Although I had lots of LDS friends growing up in Glendale, there was a large LDS community there, and I had friends in high school. Because of my other faith, I was kind of actually barred from exploring any other religions. But in Kanab, Utah, nobody could see me. And so I went in, and that kind of led to a whirlwind of learning experience about the LDS faith, and just a couple of weeks after coming home from that experience, I took all 6 discussions in one day, committed to baptism, and was baptized the following Saturday.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. And now I understand actually, if you look back at your heritage, you do have an LDS heritage back in your background.
which is crazy. As I said, I was in another Christian faith, and that faith, without naming it specifically, the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith, of course, would just could not have happened.
Right.
And that's the way I was brought up to believe. But after having been a member of the church for about 25 years, and it will be 50 years here in just a couple of years, but so like halfway through my lifespan as a member of the LDS Church, I finally got the genealogy bug and started doing that. And I was in the genealogy library in our meeting house in Burbank, and I had shared with another person sitting next to me, that I was just looking for some things. And I dropped a couple of names, and he was very much better at that than I was. And he was just doing a little bit of stuff on the side that I didn't know about. He's entering names and so quickly. And he comes up with this name. He says, "Have you ever heard of a person named Roswell Stevens?" And I hadn't. Well, Roswell Stevens was my great-great-great-grandfather. And his family and his father's family, Roswell Stevens Sr., had joined the church in the 1830s in southeastern Canada. And Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon had actually gone on a missionary teaching circuit. And my family up there heard the message and was converted and emigrated to the United States. And so a good many Stevenses came down from there and were involved in many of the early iconic church movements and encampments, and the whole Nauvoo phase, the whole Mormon Battalion phase, the winter quarters phase. My Roswell Stevens Jr. was a scout alongside Porter Rockwell for the 1847 Vanguard Company.
Wow.
And he went back and forth, I think 3 times, between the Salt Lake Valley, going back to winter quarters and bringing more people back. And he had a great life and a great history here in Utah. And his father, to backtrack a moment, Roswell Stevens Sr. was a bishop in winter quarters, and that's where he passed. But Roswell Jr. was the senior member of the San Juan Mission, and we don't know it by that name these days. It's often called the Hole in the Rock Expedition.
Ah, I got you.
And so he and his wife, my great-great-great-grandmother, of course, did that whole thing, and they were well into their 70s at that point. And my grandfather succumbed to just the rigors of the trek, and is the first person buried in Bluff, Utah.
Oh, wow.
In the Pioneer Cemetery there.
Wow, so you've got the ancestors working on the other side of Vail. Perhaps that's why you were so accepting of the gospel.
And if you think about it, where Kanab is and Bluff is, it's kind of all in that Four Corners region. So I like to think that when I walked into that little chapel in Kanab, that it was not by chance, and that I was guided there. And when I just the feelings, the spirit, the things that I heard, I think my ancestors were there with me, and
helping you out.
That's why it happened so quickly.
Yeah. Well, your immediate family, parents, weren't too happy when you joined the church, and you went through kind of a rough go as far as acting, but it did take a swing upward, and actually acting was going well.
Yeah. So right after I joined the church, I was kind of thrown into a little experience called Saturday's Warrior.
Oh, yes.
And Lex D'Azevedo had confirmed me a member of the church. And I was baptized, by the way, by Lyman Dayton, who was one of the premier Latter-day Saint directors. So he baptized me. Lex D'Azevedo confirmed me. And Lex D'Azevedo called me a week or so later and said, "Hey, I have this musical, and my brother had been playing Jimmy, but he's going on his mission, and we need somebody to step in and play Jimmy. And I didn't know much about the musical at all, but I said yes because I love to act and to sing. And the next thing I know, I'm traveling the Western United States playing Jimmy in Saturday's Warrior. But things weren't going so well as far as the film side of it was going. I had done that one film, as I mentioned, and a family member had said, well, if you hadn't joined the Mormon church, things would be going a lot better for you. And a week later, I was on a plane heading for Hawaii to star in a TV series for ABC. It happened that quickly. And from that came a lot of other opportunities. And so...
Let's name it a little bit of a laundry list, because people, and certainly my age group, will recognize the TV shows. So what were some of the TV shows you were able to be part of?
Well, that first one was called The Mackenzies of Paradise Cove, and that had been created by the same person who created Eight is Enough. So Mackenzies lasted a season, which was great. But then ABC rolled me over onto Eight is Enough. So from there, it was like Eight is Enough, Facts of Life, Too Close for Comfort, Buck Rogers, Fame, some mini-series, some after-school specials. I spent 2 years on an old soap opera called Search for Tomorrow. And then after that, I did a couple of years on another soap that people might recognize called Days of Our Lives. And it was while I was on Days of Our Lives that I got married. And married a nice, 40 years now, but a girl who had been raised in northern Arizona, and she had come from a long line of LDS pioneers herself, and we met at a singles ward and fell in love. We're married and had our first child, and then that's when that film that you had mentioned, Our Heavenly Father's Plan.
Came into play.
Actually, before that, I did a film right here that we filmed probably in the same soundstage for BYU Motion Picture Studios called The Trophy Case.
Oh, yeah.
So this is very familiar setting for me.
Territory, yeah. So that film, the church, it was really groundbreaking because the church had really not done that kind of thing before. And I remember seeing the film for the first time. I thought, this is great, because back in the day when I was a missionary, we were doing the old film strips, beep, beep, beep. And it was
that's what I saw when the missionaries were teaching me, was those things.
How did that come about? And really, that was a totally change in the direction of your life.
Well, it was kind of what they might refer to as kind of a hush project. It was not secretive, but it was very special. And so they were holding auditions for people to participate in this. And part of the audition process was basically just to set up a video camera. It wasn't as nice as these that you have in here. But come in and tell us, basically bear your testimony. And there wasn't even a script that had been prepared. It was more of a concept. And so I bore my testimony. And shortly after, I got a call from the people saying that we'd like you to do this, and really didn't really even know what it was until I got up here. And it was a profoundly spiritual experience to participate in that movie. Didn't really know what the market was for it, and I'm not even sure the producers, the church, really knew the full extent what they intended to do with it. But there was a lot of, I won't say pressure, but responsibility, I guess, would be better to say, for me, because here I was delivering, the first principles of the gospel in an outdoor setting, and bearing testimony of what the church had done for me, what I had learned, but I was speaking into the camera and kind of on behalf of the church. So it was
Very, very different.
very different.
You felt, I imagine, responsible, and that now I do represent the church, and everything you do after that will kind of follow along those lines.
Yeah, and I think the church had some mixed experiences with using basically Hollywood actors to be in the films that they were producing. So after I did that film, well, this may be something you wanted to get into a little later, but
No, let's talk about it now. Yeah.
well, after I did the film, I was up here doing some post-production work for it, and there was actually even commercials, infomercials, direct pitch or direct sales things where I, again, was looking into the camera and just doing these spots where I would say, hi, I found something in my life and I'd like to share it with you. And if you phone this toll-free number, representatives of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints would like to deliver this video to your doorstep. But I was asked if I would attend a meeting with another gentleman, and the gentleman relayed to me that the brethren would like me to consider putting my acting career, my professional acting career, on the shelf. I don't think they use the term on the shelf, but maybe set it aside for a season so that this film can be rolled out nationally and then ultimately internationally.
Right.
Because although I was bearing my true testimony, if people were to see me in a movie or a TV show or a soap opera, they might then think that he was only
just
using a script. I mean, he was being paid to say those words, and if they were having discussions or were feeling promptings to phone that number, they might think twice about doing it if they thought I was insincere.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. So.
Well, the good news is that the number that actually touched thousands of people's lives and was very helpful, and lots of people coming. But at the same time, why that was so successful that way, it does change the trajectory of your acting career, and you had a rough time figuring out where to go from there. What were some of the things that I know you wrote about? Driving a bread truck for a while. You ended up starting a very successful catering business, but you had to find alternatives to.
Yeah, there was no plan B.
Yeah.
There was no safety net other than just pure faith. Yeah. Of course, it wasn't a decision I could make on my own. I did consult with my wife, and we prayed about it and fasted about it, and ultimately decided that, this is probably what we need to do. And so we just took that leap of faith, but for us, we were leaping into a void. We didn't know what we were going to do, and I had a wife and a child, and so there were a couple of hard years, because going from trappings isn't again the right term, but I mean the paychecks were nice, there were perks, and those were all gone literally overnight. So could live off savings for a little while, sold a few things, sold a car, or moved out of our condo that I had purchased and sublet that, and my wife and I moved into a garage apartment. And it was hard, but the first thing I think I ended up doing was bagging groceries, which is something I had done in my youth, not something I was planning on doing at 26, 27 years old. So that was kind of a bitter pill, as it were. And then the bread truck opportunity came about because I had a brother-in-law who worked for a bakery that was looking for a bread truck driver. And so I did that at night, bagged groceries during the day. There were even some times where I had to pawn things, sell things like my record collection. I was even going out and doing, I was even going out on sidewalks and doing mime with a bucket and a hat, just to buy
Just to get by.
just buy diapers,
Just to get by, yeah, yeah.
whatever we needed.
But it worked out.
Well, yes, absolutely, it
But
worked
it was
out.
tough. It was definitely
But
not
it was
an
tough.
easy thing.
But I had a good friend who kind of took pity on me, who was a producer of commercials and music videos, which were very, very popular
Yeah.
back in the day. And so he said, "Shawn, come over here, and can you swing a hammer?" Yeah, I can. My dad is a carpenter. He's 85 years old and still swinging a hammer. So I did some set design or set construction. I did. I thought I might enjoy doing props or set dressing or something like that. And then there was one day when I was working on a music video, and the craft service person did not show up. Now, craft service is not a term that everybody might be aware of, but basically it's the individual who provides the snacks throughout the day, and also, tidies up the set, sweeps up, takes care of the trash. But I was willing really to do anything. And another person on that same music video said, "Hey, I know somebody that's looking for somebody to do craft service on a TV series, a new TV series. Are you interested?" I said, "Absolutely." And I went and met with that person, the production manager on that, and I was offered a job on the first year of a new TV series called The Wonder Years.
Yeah.
And
That one went on for a while.
I was there for 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where the whole food on set catering
It came up fast.
came about.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because we just have a few minutes left, but didn't do acting for a long time. And then I think one of the first things that has come up was the Cokeville Miracle.
Yeah.
T.C. Christensen found out about you and wanted you to play a part.
Right, it was about 30 years, I think, for anniversary for Our Heavenly Father's Plan, and Deseret News did a feature article about it, and that feature article became Lights, Camera, Faith, the Shawn Stevens story. And it was just an article that I was featured in. T.C. Christensen was casting his film, The Cokeville Miracle, and said, "Hey, this guy, maybe it's time for him to come out of his retirement." And he got a hold of me and offered me the role of the bishop in Cokeville Miracle. So all of a sudden I was back in front of the camera again.
And you've actually had opportunity to do, in the IMDb, if you look at it, there's quite a few things you've been working on and still working on right now. What are some of the projects that you've been working on and maybe have coming up in the future?
So from the Cokeville Miracle, again, I did Fighting Preacher for TC. I was, there was one year where I played 3 judges in 3 different films. One was The Trial of Porter Rockwell, one was Witnesses, and the other one was Out of Liberty.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And 3 judges, 3 films, so I call that my reign of the judges. But I've done others like The Santa Box and Lucy Shimmers and The Prince of Peace and lots. I just like being involved in good faith-based, family-friendly projects. If my kids won't watch them or my grandkids can't watch them, then I'm not going to do them.
Yeah. Meantime, moved from California out here to Utah.
Yeah.
How's that been?
That's been awesome. If you ask my wife, she might say something different. No, it's been great. We realized 8 years ago that all 4 of our children now lived up here. The boys had served missions and gone to BYU, and the daughter had married a returned missionary from West Jordan or South Jordan. I get those Jordans mixed up. But so all 4 of our kids were up here, and all of our grandkids at the time were all up here. I had since retired from my catering company, And my wife was working for the church full time. She took an opportunity at the Los Angeles Temple to be the supervisor of the cafeteria there.
Oh, yeah.
And so 8 years ago, we decided that we wanted to maybe move up here, and she let her bosses know that we were considering that, and they said, great, we need you to start at the Mount Timpanogos Temple in 2 weeks. And so I came up here, found us a place to lease right by the Mount Timpanogos Temple. So we landed in American Fork. And then COVID hit, and they closed down the cafeteria. My wife went up to be the supervisor of the cafeteria at the church office building. And I was doing films and actually doing a lot of singing as well.
Oh, yeah, that's
full
right.
time.
That's right. Tell us about that. You're working with a retro group, the Duprees,
Yeah,
right?
I've sung with 3 different oldies groups, groups that were very prominent in the 60s. The first one was the Diamonds, who had a hit song called Little Darlin'. The next group, I did 2 national tours with a group called the Vogues, who had a string of hits in the mid-late 60s. And then about a year and a half ago, I got invited to be a full-time member of a group called the Duprees. And so I, almost every other weekend, I'm off someplace in the country singing the great classics from the Duprees and the 60s songbook, and I'm just enjoying that immensely. And at the same time, I'm doing a new TV series.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know where it's going to be airing quite yet. I think the producers know, but it's not something they've divulged at this time. But it's called The Billionaire. And if you remember shows from the 80s and 90s like Dynasty and Dallas and Falcon Crest.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And this one's called The Billionaire, and it's about a family empire, more in kind of the tech sphere. And I play the head of the family. And there's intrigue, and there's mystery, and there's kidnappings, and there's stolen secrets and espionage. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm having a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So that's an ongoing
We've
project.
moved out of the oil fields, updated to the tech industry.
Correct.
Sounds
Yeah, I
about
mean,
right.
that's a natural rollover.
Natural rollover.
Right.
Shawn, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you, and I just express appreciation for all you've done, and through your career, and it's just a fascinating story, both of faith, and appreciate you and what you've done. Thank you so much, Shawn.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to talk about it. Yeah, I really appreciate it.